Jenny was sitting in the office. Everything was as usual. Some work, some routine conversations with colleagues, and in the evening, home awaited her. She had just opened a spreadsheet with reports when her phone vibrated. The number was unfamiliar. Jenny frowned, debating whether she should answer. Curiosity won out. "Hello," she said calmly, continuing to look at the monitor. "Is this Jenny?" came a sharp female voice on the other end. "Yes, and who's this?" Jenny took her hands off the keyboard and tensed. "This is Amanda, your ex-husband's wife," the woman blurted out. "I need to talk to you." Jenny was momentarily stunned and then felt a tense knot form inside her. Her ex-husband. That chapter of her life, she thought, was long since closed. And now, this. "I'm listening," she responded cautiously, bracing herself for anything. "Do you even understand what you're doing?" Amanda began. "Do you even realize how much money you're taking from him? Is it normal to bleed someone dry like that?" Jenny was taken aback. She stayed silent, feeling her heart start to beat faster. The words sounded absurd. "Excuse me, what are you even talking about?" she finally asked, trying to stay composed. "What do you mean, what? He says he pays you alimony every month. Meanwhile, I'm here struggling with 2 kids because there's barely anything left for us." Amanda's voice grew louder. Jenny couldn't hold it in and laughed loudly. It wasn't a nervous laugh. It was more a reaction to the ridiculousness of the situation. "You must be mistaken," she said, trying to keep her tone serious. "Your husband hasn't paid me a cent. Nothing. Not for 3 years. "What?" Amanda exclaimed indignantly. "But he told me all the money goes to you and your child, and now you're saying you don't receive anything?" "Exactly," Jenny responded firmly. "Would you like proof? I have my bank statements. Or maybe you should have a conversation with your husband instead." Amanda fell silent. The pause that followed was filled only with the sound of her heavy breathing. It seemed doubts were starting to creep into her mind. "So, nothing at all?" she asked, her tone quieter. "He told me the alimony was regular." "Nothing," Jenny interrupted. "Would you like me to spell it out? If he had been paying me, I think I'd know about it by now." Amanda's voice noticeably softened, as though pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place in her head. "I see," she finally said. "All right, it looks like I need to have a serious talk with him." "Yes, you do," Jenny said coldly. "And please, don't call me again. Handle your problems on your own." She hung up and exhaled deeply, relieved yet still irritated by the situation. That evening, at home, Jenny told her friend Linda everything that had happened. They were sitting at the kitchen table drinking tea and analyzing the day's events. "Can you imagine? That Amanda called me and accused me of taking money from her husband," Jenny vented with indignation. "And he hasn't sent me a single cent in 3 years. Linda laughed, leaning back in her chair. "That sounds like him," Linda said knowingly. "You always said he was a habitual liar." Jenny shook her head. "Yeah, but this has crossed the line. How do you even come up with something like that?" Jenny took a sip of tea. "Can you believe it? He's telling her all the money is going to alimony. Meanwhile, he's probably spending it on himself. And she calls me to confront me. What? Did she expect me to grovel or something?" Her friend smirked. "Wow, what a mess. I actually feel a little sorry for her." "To be honest, I do too," Jenny admitted quietly. "But I'm more angry. This is just absurd." A few days later, Jenny received another call from Amanda. This time her voice was tense, but the aggression was gone. "Jenny, it's me again, Amanda. We need to talk." "I told you not to call me anymore," Jenny replied curtly. "We've already discussed everything. Deal with your husband on your own." "But you don't understand what I've found out," Amanda said, her voice trembling. He has a mistress." "A mistress?" Jenny wasn't even surprised. "Of course. And how exactly did you figure that out?" Amanda took a deep breath, her voice filled with both hurt and anger. "He had his banking app open on his phone. I saw everything. Transfers to someone named Marie, $800 to $1,000 every month, and all that money he's been calling alimony." Jenny stayed silent for a long time. She wasn't shocked, but hearing it still stung. "Not exactly surprising," she finally said. "He's always been like that, lying, finding ways to twist the truth. Even during our marriage, I caught him in little lies. Looks like he hasn't changed." Amanda exhaled loudly. "I thought we had a real family, with kids, trust, and everything. But it turns out I was just ignoring what was right in front of me." "You probably should have checked sooner," Jenny remarked carefully, trying not to sound accusatory. "I thought he was an honest man," Amanda retorted. "I thought he was normal, but he's been deceiving all of us this entire time." Jenny let out a dry laugh. Surprisingly, she felt a tinge of pity for this woman. "The world doesn't change much, Amanda. I've already been through this. Better late than never, I guess." "You're right," Amanda said softly, calming down a bit. "Thank you for listening. Maybe it's my fault for trusting him for so long. Now I just have to figure out what to do next." "Yeah," Jenny agreed. "Just don't waste your energy. Talk to him calmly, if you can." Amanda chuckled grimly. "That's unlikely, but, thanks for the conversation. You've really helped me see things clearly." "You're welcome," Jenny replied, her tone firm again. "But let's not do this again. I don't want to be involved in your drama." Amanda agreed, thanked her again, and hung up. Jenny stared at her phone for a while, deep in thought. She had a nagging feeling that this wasn't the end of the story. A few days later, on her way home from work, Jenny unexpectedly ran into her ex-husband, Mark. He was standing outside a store in downtown Chicago, chatting with another man. When Mark spotted her, he hurried to catch up. "Jenny, wait!" he called out, approaching her quickly. She stopped abruptly, turned around, and crossed her arms over her chest. Her voice was icy. "What do you want?" "Listen, what the hell did you say to Amanda?" he began irritably. "She's been driving me insane ever since." Jenny smirked. "And what? You thought she wouldn't find out? Seriously, Mark? You brought this on yourself." He flared up. "I didn't do anything. You're the one who filled her head with nonsense, and now she's losing her mind." "Filled her head?" Jenny shot him a contemptuous look. "She found the bank statements herself, or do you think I somehow forged them for her?" Mark fell silent, his face reflecting irritation and confusion. "Look," he finally said, lowering his tone. "Can you just stay out of my business? It'd be better for all of us." Jenny stepped closer, locking eyes with him defiantly. "Really? You dragged me into this, not the other way around. So deal with it yourself and leave me out of it." She turned on her heel and walked away without giving him a chance to respond. Her hands were shaking with anger, but at the same time, she felt a sense of relief. That evening, she added both Mark and Amanda's numbers to her phone's blocked list. A week passed. Jenny had calmed down and returned to her usual routine, but in the back of her mind, she couldn't shake the feeling that her past was still lingering like an invisible shadow. One late evening, Jenny sat alone at her kitchen table, a cup of tea in her hands. Her thoughts wandered to Amanda, Mark, and the bizarre chain of events. "Thank God I left him," she thought. But even with that, she couldn't shake the uneasy sense that this wasn't completely over.